Well, if that isn't a familiar face, I was really curious what the identity of this mystery man behind the computer was going to be, and to see a familiar face from part 3, wow, this probably is the best cliffhanger JoJo part 5 has had, because not only is a little salt in the wound being like, really, you're gonna reveal that major of a bombshell to then leave us off for a week? But it's kind of amazing in its own right, so I'm very excited for episode 32 next week. This week, however, the battle with Green Day, Oasis, Bruno, as well as Giorno, brutal. Absolutely really hard to watch because for the most part, our central boys were getting their shit pounded in. Literally seeing Bruno in this episode, who I was like, okay, he's undead, he's not really going to be affected by the mold, he seemingly has been able to get the jump on Oasis, he's got this, right? I mean, dead boy walking, he's got this. No, he didn't have this whatsoever. Seeing the idea that this guy can literally almost act like a boxing ring with the entire world around him, using the bounces to make his punches stronger and faster, even more brutal, and watching our poor guy who's literally suffering as is get his face pounded in, it was both amazing to watch because of the speed and power and just the overall momentum, but it was pretty hard to watch, and he was only getting his shit pounded in for a few minutes, but I was like, okay, if we're kicking off the episode watching one of our best boys get his shit beat into this extreme, I mean, granted, he did get away in the nick of time by using the zippers, but still, like, that was pretty disturbing. And then you pretty much almost kill Mista, and I'm just like, holy shit, JoJo is not playing around this week, which I'm really thankful for, because if the boss is going to rely on scumbags to these natures who are twisted, corrupt, a little stupid, or I guess a lot stupid in the case of the one stand user, just, he doesn't even know common sense or basic vocabulary. But still, like, these are people like your last resort, and I'm glad they're giving our characters a run for their money. Just every time you think, okay, they got the jump on them, it seems like they got this, and then you just see the poor bullets, one by one. I was not okay with that. Like, it was one thing seeing Bruno, it was one thing seeing Mista get really wounded, but you kind of expect that, like, they're not dead yet, so it's like, okay, Giorno can still do some stuff here, he can work his magic, but then you start seeing the bullets go out one by one, and I think it's the voice that really sold the misery because they sound so innocent like a child, and then you're just seeing them get ripped apart to shreds and only one surviving, and then them almost acting like family, being like, save yourself, but they can't because you don't know what's going on in this helicopter. This is like top 3 sad moments for me. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but it was just so horrifying to watch because not only does it just highlight how screwed the cast is as a whole, but just hearing that very innocent voice just get tormented, it hit you in the heart, at least for myself. But the overall creativity to this fight, especially when it came to Giorno and how he was fighting against a man who honestly looked like a Resident Evil boss, literally ripping his body around and then just kind of swinging around, literally reminding me of like a boss from Resident Evil 4. It was horrifying, a little creepy, a little funny, but more often than not, pretty damn horrifying. And I love that because, of course, you know it's JoJo. Giorno's gonna pull some pretty interesting fast ones. You knew he was gonna transform something to get the jump on this man. But for a good chunk of this, I was like, okay, how bad is Giorno gonna suffer? Is he gonna end up dead? Is it gonna be another character who will finish this story for us? Because you really didn't know in this battle. It kind of flipped around quite a bit, and that's what made it so exciting and just overall exhilarating. And just seeing this doctor who literally can, like, detach himself, put himself back together, literally making everything a game in every moment where we're seeing our character suffering, feeling horrible, he's laughing and just basking in it because this is what gets him off. This is his fetish because he's a sick bastard. And I love how at every moment I'm like, okay, I know Giorno's going to pull something, but I can never predict exactly what the author had in mind. And the idea of growing a branch with the bullet going through his hand, like, that's cool. But obviously, because that's living, the mold would just rip it apart. So what do you do after that? And to just see how he let things turn back into normal, to then back into the bullet, going through his head, and just all of the maneuvers that Giorno is literally playing 4D chess over here, while this guy is just basically jerking off in a helicopter thinking this is his fetish porn. And I love that because this was probably the most savage moment Giorno has ever had in this show. Literally using his words to out-manipulate a guy who he knows there's no way he's dead. The mold might be gone, but if he would believe that he's truly dead and not, just like laying there kind of pretending like, he would have been an idiot in this case and we would be rolling our eyes. But Giorno knows. He was buying time, waiting for something to go back to its home. And I love just seeing him so arrogant, like, I got Mista, I got these arms, you got nothing on me. And then once again, bullet through his head, and then just the Muda. Holy shit. This was long, it was dragged out, and I loved it because this is Giorno having enough of this guy's shit. He is beyond pissed off at how cruel, how horrible of a person this is, and even after he knows this guy's dead after a few punches and a couple of bullets to the brain, he doesn't stop and just keeps going. And you can't even literally figure out what's going on. It's moving so fast, it's such loose line work, it's so abstract, and you don't know what's happening, but you can hear the impact because of the sound effects, you can hear the voice acting, and then you just see, you're like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm probably glad I'm not seeing how much damage is truly going on to this guy, to then into a recycle to get crushed to his death. If this isn't one of the most satisfying, brutal, and savage moments, I don't know what is, and I adore it. I can definitely understand why so many people were excited for this fight, because not only did it push our characters back against a wall in the most brutal and savage way we've seen, we've also are witnessing personalities who, even though they're sick and twisted, we got to see a pretty decent amount to their relationship and how much they truly care for each other in a pretty bizarre and sick way. And how, like, this pet owner dynamic and just the love they have, it feels so weird to say, but they clearly have it. It's pretty decently written, I have to say. We didn't get as much as, say, the Hitman team, but enough to make it feel like they were characters with their own sick and twisted personalities and motivations that really made it interesting to follow. And how Oasis is going to be dealt with, I don't know, because people are getting their shit pushed in on both sides right now, but at the very least, the mold's gone, so pretty much this, like, ultimate combo is now just a strong stand, so even though he's super fast with his punches, he's not invincible anymore like he once started off, and this is pretty damn amazing. This was definitely one of my favorite fights. I don't know, like, all the fights in this part have been amazing, in all honesty, so I really would have to kind of like go over each fight and really think what has been my favorite. But up till now, I'd say most of them are pretty close to being equal, and at times they do surpass, and it was just so fun. It was so... I was on the edge of my seat. I really didn't know... Like, I thought we were losing one more character when we were going up against Green Day, because this is a stand that should be next to impossible to beat, and it technically was. And it was only because Giorno is goddamn smart with how he outmaneuvers people and just drags out the sequences, which you think, oh, is just like that cliche reasoning, but it was actually him being a total badass and getting one up on the enemy. And this is going to be interesting. Something I really like with Bruno is because we know his body's dead and it's rotting, but even after you're dead, even though you're not producing blood anymore, there'll still be blood in your body. And depending on the impact, some of that remainder blood just goes through his body, and it's so sad to see because you're like, on one hand, you're like, the man doesn't even have much blood as is, and then you're literally beating him to a pulp so his blood squirts out. He bites his lip or he just like shoots it out through his eyes. It is so brutal. But I like how it's not censored. I like how they're not holding back. It actually does feel like a group of gang members. It feels like a gang giving it their all, risking their lives. It doesn't feel like past JoJo parts where you saw like the brutality and then it was censored so much. You're like, yeah, it's probably brutal. And then even when I watch some of the uncensored, it's like, it's good, but there's something about Golden Wind. There's something about the theme, the group, and just the setting of knowing these are gang members, and they're literally, some of them are risking the lives of the entire world. It is just so brutal. I'm glad it doesn't just feel like they're showing us blood and gore just for the fun of it. It actually feels like it's supposed to enhance the story at hand, and it really gets me invested because this part is so goddamn phenomenal. And once again, another fantastic episode. Like, I know manga readers were so excited for this. I just keep hearing stuff about Muda and just like, this was going to be a big Giorno moment, and I just couldn't see anything like that coming. I especially couldn't see the reveal at the end coming because I thought it would just be another random character that would be introduced and be a cool character. And to see who it is sitting on that wheelchair, holy shit, things are going to get interesting. This has to be one of the best endgames I've seen in anime. It just feels like it's so long, it's so fleshed out, but it doesn't feel dragged out. It really feels like the perfect pacing, fleshing out, giving characters the time to shine, and even when we want to see more of these characters, it feels like when they go out, it feels like the appropriate moment because it did something for the story or characters at hand, and this is just phenomenal. I absolutely adore this episode. Probably top 2 fights. It might even be my favorite fight at this point in time. I'd really have to think, but definitely top 2 for sure. It was the proper length, it was brutal, it was creative, and just Giorno's ricocheting of bullets and just the ricocheting of punches onto Bruno. So cool with how they can continuously find new and interesting ways to take these stands and just make them even more brutal and just creative than they already were with their initial power system. Something I really enjoy about this part of JoJo, and I wasn't always a fan of it in past JoJo parts, is like when characters overly talk in the middle of a battle. In past JoJo parts, sometimes it works for me, and then sometimes I was like, okay, let's get this moving. Here, I never find that to be a bother. I just feel like these characters talking, there's something to it. Either it's because a character is just so messed up in his head, he wants to drag it out, he wants to see these characters suffer, or in the case of Giorno, he's literally just buying time to literally put a bullet through a person's head. This part just found all the great aspects of past JoJo parts and just rode with it, and didn't bring out any of the bullshit from past JoJo parts. And holy hell, is this just made for me, as I've been saying for months now. It is amazing. For everyone who did watch though, manga readers who were very excited for this fight, as I know, what did you think of this adaptation and where it's going to go next week? Anime originals like myself, what did you think? Did you love it as much as myself, or was it a little too brutal for you? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you haven't been new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.